Good evening and welcome to the Hugh Hatrick Show on a very special event. We have the stars of the SMA GT500 Championship here with me tonight. And we're going to interview them, we're going to have a good chat with them, and you'll be able to ask them questions as well. So, the first thing I've got to do is to pick one of you to start. But you can wave to say hello so that we know that you're there and it's everyone can see you. So I will start with Galara Brown. You look like you're just there and there with your hood up there. Galara, it's good to see you as it is for all of you here, all my special guests tonight. Let the our viewers know a little bit about the SMA Championship and how you got involved. Hello? Oh, Galara, are you there? It looks like it's maybe frozen.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go to Varsvardavis, who looks like Sebastian Vettel. Varsvardavis, how did you get involved in the SMA Championship? How did it all start?
It started with a different competition called GTSA. It's a different league in South Africa. It runs on Thursdays. And that was my introductory into racing. And the midweek racing actually made it a little bit difficult with work and everything. So we usually had a league called LNR, which now rebranded to SMA on Sundays, and it was a team event, which intrigued me at first. So it used to be two people in a team, and then you compete against everyone else. And when we rebranded to SMA, obviously now it's an individual sport. So uh, yeah, that's basically how it started out. It started out in a different league, but as the South African community is so small, it just moved over to SMA, and now with our team fully invested in the competition, it just makes sense to stick here.
Fantastic, and because it's a really kind of high quality championship, and I know that when Sean and I commentate on it, and we get these great overlays, and it looks like you're watching a real kind of like a proper race that you would see in in touring cars or Formula One. It's very impressive with all the background stuff that goes on with Robin and the administrative team getting it all done. So it's great fun to be able to have all of that and present it in a way that is just like a major, a proper racing tournament, and that is improving all the time. But I'll go to JDJ. He looks like one of the youngest guys we've got here on the show tonight. But how did you start in sim racing, and what are your feelings on the GT500 Championship?
I started at 16 years of age. When I joined, didn't go as well as I was planning it to go. But from there, I got hooked. Uh, I just started racing in different events like GTSSA, ATK. Now this year is SMA. Um, as so far, I'm actually finding it quite enjoyable. It's something new. I'm not used to the GR2 car, so I'm still in my learning curve. But so far, it doesn't seem like I'm doing too bad. Sometimes I'm completely out of it. It's quite fun. I can't. It's something new.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Because it's all the different tracks, but with those Group Two cars, and now of course we've got the more modern Group Two cars, and that's been a new test. So I'll go to Puma Neil next. How do you find the new cars from 2016? Has it been? Are they kind of nicer to drive? Do you find them a bit more fun?
Um, so, as far as choosing a manufacturer and a Lexus, yeah, we've shot ourselves in the foot to a certain extent because it's just lacking on power, unfortunately. However, um, it's not the worst thing we could have done. I mean, I'm learning now from driving behind all these fast oaks, just to maximize as much as I can with what I have. So, but yeah, it's been fun. Look, GR2 to me has always been nothing really I've ever focused on. It's always been GT3 or the GR3. So it's a cool season there. The competition's rough. I'm just very surprised I still am where I am. So for me, it's a win. That's cool. Yeah, I'm happy.
That's great. And did you find as well that because you know that you've got some big names in the championship, um, is that something that kind of wants to make you kind of more competitive? Does it
No,
give
no,
you a
no.
good kind of thing to aim for?
No, no, no. Of course, of course. Look, in previous seasons last year, I definitely was a bit more, I think, competitive. But yeah, at the moment, I'm a casual. It's just balancing time and trying to be fast. Yeah, it's not always the easiest thing. So but I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. Definitely a
Uh,
challenge, and it's inspiring. So yeah, it's cool.
yeah. Fantastic. Now I'll go to VSR Richard next because we've interviewed you before on the podium. And what does it feel like when you to get your first podiums? I mean, you've had I think two podiums on there, and you're right up there in the championship. Is it? Do you think you're? How do you express your emotions when you've managed to do when you get on those on the podium for the first time and more in the championship? Was it a feeling that kind of gave you excitement throughout the whole week? It must because it's certainly you've had some great results.
No, it's very satisfying to be on the podium. I was a little bit unhappy. Had a couple of misfortunes in the first couple of races. I think that could have reached the podium sooner. But yeah, it's always exciting. And it's very, it's good to be on the podium. I think my pace is there. It's just the consistency that lacks a bit. Here and there in the qualies, I'm dropping off. Although I also did a couple of good quali laps in the season, but yeah, it's very good to be on a podium. It's a nice feeling.
It's great. All right, super. Now we've got Flaw Genius in here. We've got Sean in the comments as well, and we've got Robin too. So anyway, for everyone who is watching, feel free to post a comment there. You can ask your questions, and we will put them forward. Now we've got here we are. I'm just making sure that everybody is on, so that I haven't missed anybody. But yes, everybody is in there. We've got room for one more. So when Levi comes in a wee while, we'll put he should be able to fit on to the screen as well, and we'll put some questions to him as well. Right. So I'll start. I'll ask another question here to Galara Brown. Galara, can you hear me? I think your mic might be possibly be off the back.
Yes, yeah,
Galara,
no, I can hear you.
how did you get started in sim racing? As you're a famous member now of the Tier 1 in the GTA Championship, how was it? Was it GT7 or was it well before?
Started on Commodore 64 in the 80s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've been playing video games my whole life. So, yeah, PlayStation 1 with original Gran Turismo, started there. Played all of them right through to GT6. And yeah, in GT6 I discovered GTSA and I joined them. And from there I went to LNR. And from LNR we founded now SMA. And here I am.
Fantastic. And what are your general kind of feelings on GT7? Because some people kind of love it, other people hate it. What are the things you like most about GT7?
I like GT7 a lot. The only thing that's a bit disappointing to me is the fact that they're not adding new race cars. I'd love to see new GT3 cars, GT4 cars, just freaking race cars. Because I mean, the newest race car there is like a 2021 model, and all the other ones are like 17, 18. I mean, it's getting close to 10 years old now already. I was telling my teammates, I'll even pay for a DLC now if they can maybe create a pack with a bunch of race cars. I'll pay for it. Doesn't even have to be free. But
Yeah,
other than that, I actually love the game.
yeah. I mean, I think the graphics are amazing. I mean, we see replays. We can do that live through the event, and it's as good as new. It shows all the overtaking, all the bits, and even just inside the car, outside the car, the different camera shots are really something quite special. So
I
yeah,
was
sorry, carry on.
I was watching the World Series on YouTube, and was watching for an hour before my wife asked me, "Is this a video game?" She thought I was watching a real race.
Wow. Yeah, it shows you, isn't it? Yeah, it's really improved.
Yeah.
It's really improved. That so that's the thing. Now, is there anyone here who would like to ask another guest a specific question? And we'll start with one of that. Is there? Do you have a question for each other? I can. How about you, Puma Neil? Have you got any questions for your fellow competitors that are on screen with us just now?
No, not off the top of my head. Okay, go someone else. Go. Ask the question.
How about you, Matt? Matt will introduce Puma. Matt, it's good to see you here tonight. Welcome to the channel. And how are you finding the GT500 Championship? And how are things are going for you?
So I sort of string along at the back, so I just sort of follow who is ever in front of me. But as you probably know, I'm on the admin team with Renier, and I think the competitiveness of Tier 1 is quite incredible at times. It's if I compare it with, I'm relatively new to sim racing. I only started, I think, 3 years ago, and over the years that I've been involved, I think this is the most competitive season that we've had, and it's showing because I'm even further back than I was before, and so I'm sort of watching from behind. But I think it's amazing, and I agree with the comments on GT7. GT7, it may not be the most realistic racing game, but the graphics are quite incredible. I support what Renier said. I really don't understand why GT7 don't bring more cars and specifically more tracks. But maybe if we're lucky, they're working on GT8. So, but I'm loving it, even though I'm at the back. It's fine.
Yeah. Oh, that's the thing. So I'll ask the question, and you can come back to me for everyone who's on, for all our guests here. Um, did any of you go into sim racing hoping that if you do well enough, you might get a drive in like a real racing event? Did any of you have that kind of pursuit, or has it mainly just to be kind of competitive in sim racing?
Not at my age, no.
And definitely not at my age.
I don't
I
Because it's
think
quite.
JD. I think you're leaving JDJ out. He's maybe the only one here that's got possibilities, right?
I'm a bit old for that now.
How old are you now, JDJ?
But
21.
yeah,
Oh, you got plenty of years in front of you then. Plenty of years.
But I
Richard,
know JD is doing some real life karting, so at least he's in some form of racing.
yes, I'm doing
Yeah.
karting. Quite nice. Having the real feel for the racing and the events and everything. Gives you a different perspective of well, I've always been doing sim racing, so I've never really had the real feel for it, like in real life with the real events and the actually having to risk breaking something or having the G forces or anything. Not that it pulls that much, but it's quite fun seeing how different it can get compared to sim racing online.
And has anyone found as well when after they've been doing all this sim racing, and maybe you've gone into say a performance driving event, driving a sports car or something like that, did it feel like it did on GT7, or is it completely different?
It's completely different. If I was speaking like with the karts, the karting in GT7 doesn't feel realistic at all. Completely something different. It feels more like a understeer and oversteer car than it does actually like a go-kart.
So it's quite different. Isn't it? The steering is quite tricky, isn't it? Because it happens so quickly.
Yeah.
So it is quite a thing. Now I'll introduce Levitius. has joined us.
Hello.
Welcome
Loud
to the
and clear?
channel. Yes.
Hello,
So I like the
gentlemen.
Ferrari top there.
Thank you.
So we've got the championship leader. So now I've been asking them before you joined us how we can slow you down, how they can get a competitive advantage. So I'm sure they'll be asking you that. But it's welcome to the channel. It's great to see you. And
Thank you.
and to have all of you on board here as we find out about your sim racing careers and how things started. Now, Whipperman, you were saying that you've just been doing
Yes,
this for 3 years. And how have you found from starting 3 years ago to where you are now? Has it been a hard climb, or has it been there's been a lot of joy in the time that you've been doing it?
been playing GT since the first one. I stopped for a little bit. I missed GT Sport completely. Started GT7 when it came out and basically did a few dailies, got my ranking up, and I saw that there was a little bit of pace. It was on PS4 controller, so driving in the rig wasn't even on my mind at least. So until I was approached by Captain Slowly from QNR, so they basically offered me a spot in the team, and since then it grew from a game into a sport, and loving every minute of it. So learning curve. I mean, driving with online players on the daily is completely different to driving people that you actually in your country that you get to know and you learn from. So it's a good place to be. And obviously, team support, the practice, it creates a community where everybody's able to help each other and grow the sport and talent. So very much enjoy it.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. And how did you find? Because most of us who've started on Gran Turismo, we would have the controllers to begin with, and then you eventually you think, oh, I've got to get a wheel because everyone else that's streaming has got a wheel, and you think, oh, I've got to get a bit faster. How did you
Yes.
find the difference between the adapting to driving with a proper wheel and pedals to a controller? Who would like to answer that?
Okay, you can go.
Spartacus, I'll ask you first, and then I'll go to Limitius.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. Look, I think you can get very close with the controller to steering wheel pace on a qualifying lap at least. I remember back in my day, I used to also race on controller up until I got into tier 1 essentially, and that's when I made the switch. And at first, it's quite a thing to get used to. You have to do some laps to at least just get close to pace, but immediately you can feel it's a little bit smoother, right? And I think that's where tire wear you gain the advantage on the long run with it, but also left foot braking, right foot decelerating. You're not always used to that at first. So it's a bit of a struggle. I remember at one point I even used the motion control on the controller. So that made it a bit smoother, but there's a bit of a delay on it. So
Yeah.
it's not the best, but it worked for me. It gave me a bit of a feeling. Plus, I was as young as JDJ back then, so my arms could keep up.
We've had some good comments, by the way, and here we have that JDJ has evolved into kart racing, and Ebby went to shave for YouTube, according to Sir Mags. JDJ is super talented, petrol in his veins since he was a little boy. Yeah, that's the thing. See, I was kind of growing up in the 80s, so we didn't really have that kind of sim racing equipment. We just used to play in the cars. And I remember once driving my father's car he had left it in gear, and I thought I knew how to drive. I was only about 9, and I just turned the key, and of course the car jerked forward because it was in gear. And I moved it down the driveway, to his horror, when he realised, where's his car gone? And there's a 9-year-old behind the wheel, desperate to have a go, isn't it? So we're all kind of car enthusiasts. But now to Levitius. I can see your wheel there.
Hello.
Would you like to tell us what kind of equipment that you're using there? It looks like a great seat and pedals and wheels.
Yeah, I'm fortunate to have this Fanatec GE Pro. I got it all sponsored from my community, so it was not actually any of my like organization. I got help from my community over the years, and then I got this set up with a rig from somewhere in South Africa. It was just someone I knew, and they managed to have something for me, and then I got that set up. It was just like a little bit of a building process from getting a controller to a wheel, and then playing on the desk, and then from the desk getting a rig, and then from the rig getting a DD. It is just a building process over 4 years. So yeah, it was quite a fun, rewarding experience eventually once you got everything. Yeah.
Yeah. And who's had a kind of sim rig building disaster? Because usually things, you'll be building half of it, and then you'll be short of screws, or you realize you put on something the wrong way. Is that something that's not just me? That other people do that as well, or is it kind of what's
Definitely.
been your yeah? Because I mean, I know we've had a few disconnects, which are kind of I always feel sorry for anyone who's had disconnects, because you're in the race and all of a sudden the wheel stops, or you can't get any steering or any pedal work, and then it's kind of over. Hopefully those things will get ironed out as it goes on, isn't it? As the technology improves. But yeah, no, it's quite a thing. Has anyone got a sim rig disaster they would like to tell us about?
Well, I had a
I think
full
I
sim
can
rig
tell you
failure.
one
Oh,
on
sorry.
Monday.
Well, go
So
to
you can
Richard.
go.
He's on Monday. The past race.
Richard.
his wheel
I had one on
disconnected.
Monday. Disconnected. I think it was lap 24, 25. So yeah, it's not a nice feeling. I thought I had a chance there. But yeah, unfortunately my steering wheel had other plans.
Yeah, it's the thing now. Was it you that had the G923, the Logitech?
No.
No, that was
That
another.
was
another
JDJ.
That is that's JDJ.
JDG. Because you had problems with your 923, wasn't it? That was an
Yeah,
issue.
with the force feedback not working, but at least after the update today, it seems fine for now. Hopefully, it just continues and not
Yeah.
do what it did to me on the last race.
Well, that's what I've got in front of me here, and it's interesting because the paddle, after having it for about 3 or 4 weeks, the paddle started giving up. So when you were coming in and changed down for a corner, it wouldn't change down. You'd only get one gear instead of 2 or 3, and of course the car would then understeer and cause lots of problems, and it was quite an issue. So it seems like the Logitech have a bit to work on. And I was supposed to be getting a new Thrustmaster T598 today, but Amazon unfortunately delivered it. Well, they tried to deliver it when I wasn't there, so it's coming tomorrow. But I'm looking forward to that. So I'll ask that question to you all one by one. What would be your ideal SimRig equipment if you could have it? I'll start with you, Neil, as you're at the top of the screen. What would you like to have if you could? If money no object, what would be your ideal SimRig?
The thing is, money is always an object. Look, I'm not going to lie to you. My rig right now, I'm over the moon. It took me a long time to get it. I've got a very similar setup to Lividius. So GD Pro, what's it called? Mixed Level Racing, FTT, and yeah, monitor, and it does the job, man. And I'm comfortable. That's the most important thing for me. Like, I think I had a similar rig to Fist before. I had the same red bolstering on the seat Fist. And like my legs used to cramp because I couldn't put the pedals far enough. That wasn't enjoyable for me. But now it's when you're comfortable, you enjoy it. So I'm over the moon with what I have. So yeah.
Oh, that's great. And to Whipperman, what would you like to have if you could choose anything that you don't have at the moment?
Only thing would be a set of V3 pedals. I think that's about the only thing. Yeah. I shifted over to Fanatec in January. Extremely happy with it. So I think Fanatec is basically where it's at. So just the small little bits that go with it. I think that would be the only add-ons that would be needed at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll go to Galara Brown. Galara, what would you like to have that you don't have at the moment? Oh, I think maybe it's frozen there. Okay, I will go to JDJ. I bet you like a new wheel.
Yeah, after last week, I would like one. I don't really know the difference. I know some of the brands, but I don't really know much of the different steering wheel types and everything. I would like a direct drive, doing well in here actually. But it doesn't bother me as much. I'm fine with anything. Feels more or less the same. Okay, the direct drive is a bit different, of course.
Hugh,
But-
do you know how quick this dude is? I think you're on a G29, aren't you, JD?
Yes. No, G923.
Same
Oh,
thing.
sorry. I mean, he's so quick on that equipment that he's got. It's amazing.
It is, yeah. It's getting the feel to it, isn't it? Once you get used to your equipment and making the most of it, that's the thing. It makes all the difference. And did any of you find when you were adjusting to the wheel from having a controller that it did take a few days to kind of get used to it? Or what was your biggest difference? What was the thing that kind of made you think I'm going to have to change my driving style? I'll go to you, Varsvartavis, for that one.
Yeah, that's just the thing. It's just getting used to braking with your left foot and trail braking. That was the most difficult for me. It's just to get the balance right, because I think a lot of time is won or lost in the corners. Levy is definitely not faster than me on the straight. He's winning all his time somewhere. So that's the thing. I think braking was the biggest issue for me, but it's also using your foot you get a lot more. If you have a lot of more room to play with compared to the trigger on a controller. So once you get used to it, it's a lot easier.
Yeah. And how about you, Levitius? What was your biggest adjustment that you had to make for going to wheel and pedals?
To be honest with you, so I didn't start with Gran Turismo 7 in terms of like making the transition. I was actually playing Formula 1 2021 when I made my transition from a controller to a wheel. And it actually taught me some very bad habits because the F1 game isn't actually that great for teaching good just technique. So, for example, I was very aggressive, like on and off of the brakes, because that's like how it is in F1. You think that's the right thing to do. So when you come to Gran Turismo, being very snappy on the brakes, you're gonna unsettle the car very easily. And also the force feedback's a lot more intuitive. With even the G29, I had a G29 until the end of 2023. It was just more intuitive trying to get used to it compared to like the F1 game. But yeah, basically the pedals were really weird initially, but it took me about 2 weeks to like transition, and then it was pretty seamless afterwards. Yeah, it just basically teaching your brain to do something that it hasn't done before, and then once I'd learned that, I'd never forgot. It's very straightforward.
Yeah. And the key thing is, well, I've noticed that a lot of you have practice servers, and we sometimes see what's happening, I suppose, testing tire wear and things like that. How important, because for many of the viewers watching who are maybe thinking about coming into the championship, who are currently supporters and maybe want to join the next one, how important is it to really practice when you know what the combinations are, and how many hours of practice do you do if you can? Who would like to answer that one?
I could probably be a good reference, maybe.
Yeah.
So necessarily that I've been practicing continuously every single combo day on day, because I've kind of played Gran Turismo consistently since the launch. So it's more of a build-up of knowledge than just, okay, let's practice this combo non-stop, because too much practice is also a bad thing. I feel like if I go to like too many hours, I actually get slower. So it's basically just doing about like a solid hour of practice and then letting it like just marinate in the brain, and you come back maybe the next day and you're going fast already because you remember what you did yesterday. It's more about just building up the knowledge all the time when you play the game, and then you get a combo, you're familiar with how to drive the track already. You just need to get used to like what the nuances of the car, and then it's just adding that to your list of information that you've got just from experience. Yeah.
I know that is the thing, isn't it? Because they say too much practice. I remember I did an interview with David Perel a few years ago, and of course he does sim racing and real racing, and he went into great detail on only do about, I think it was 60 minutes or 80 minutes, I think it was maximum, and never any more than that, because then you'll kind of run yourself out and you'll start with bad habits if you're not going faster. But it's amazing how the work on the sim really does get you ready. Because my next question goes to is all about strategy, and because the GT500 Championship, it's not just a matter of going flat out, is it? You've got to fuel save a bit. You've got to think about your tires, and and it's trying to figure out. I don't know where I would be trying to figure out the strategy for these races, but you guys are always up there if it's using mediums or using hards, and then a few of you will come in using the soft tire. How do you find How do you prepare for the strategy? What's your secret for getting the strategy right? I'll go to Galara Brown.
Well, we get together as a team before practice, and then we discuss different strats. Then we gotta do a few laps and see what the tire wear and fuel wear is. See how many laps we get on what tires and how many laps we can get on a full tank. And then we decide on 3 or 4 different strats, and then we split it between each other, and then we do a race, and we see which strat works out the quickest.
That's pretty good, isn't it? And is that similar for all of you?
I think most teams work similarly, and I think what Levi said earlier is definitely true. Over practice can be damaging, but you do need a certain amount of time on the track during the week to work out the strat, not the track. So that's and Renier does the combinations, so he always gives us all sorts of tricky stuff to deal with. So we have to spend time on the strat more than we do on the practice, I think.
Mm-hmm. So tell me, what's worse, high fuel consumption or high tire wear? What do you prefer, or what's your
tire
least?
wear is worse.
I prefer fuel.
I would say, yeah.
Because I suppose if you're on the softs, because I know on our race on Monday, a few of you came in with the racing soft tires, and they barely lasted maybe 8 or 9 laps, wasn't it, to give it a go? And I think Gran Turismo was quite good with the way that the wear rate, or how the car kind of handles when they start getting kind of hard used, isn't it? There's quite good that way. And it's kind of, so how do you, do you ever practice to go drive as far as you can on a pair of used softs, you could say, to get an idea of how it would handle, of how the car would handle? I'll go to Richard. How do you handle that one?
So we will always, you guys can hear me now. We will do a couple of laps on all the different compounds and compulsory compounds, and see basically where's the crossover between the softs and the mediums. And then decide from there which strat is going to be best. So yeah, sitting with the GTR, same with Levi. I think the tire wear is a bit more harsh than on the NSX, on the Honda. So there's definitely a benefit on that side for the NSX. But yeah, so I try to nurse the tires, although that's one of my flaws that I still need to work on and practice. I'm used to oversteering the car because I want to go quick, and it wears out the tires too soon. So I like to go back after a race and see one of the competitor drivers like Levi or Dicky, and see how my tire wear compared actually with them, coupled with the lap times that we did, and also have a look at the steering inputs. Very important, because like I said, I know I practice on that. That is one of my mistakes. It's overdriving, so I can do a couple of fast laps, but then my tires is gone. Instead of pushing them for another 2 or 3 laps, I know Fizz is very good in tire wear. Always, he's our smooth character. So he always tries to learn us how much steering input we need to apply in the corners. And then, I just want to mention on JD as well. I think he doesn't practice at all. When it comes back to the practice, and the day he buys a Fanatec, then I'm going to stop sim racing at all.
That's the thing. Now, to you, Levitius, you on Monday you chose it was a kind of medium tire, and that seemed to really kind of work for you. How did you come to that? How did it? Because you always take a very good strategy, and normally it's been paying off for you and getting you these victories. Again, how do you work that one out? What was it? Was it just a lot of practice on the medium tires compared to the hards?
Generally speaking, I've always been the person who uses the harder compounds. I remember even last season I think it was the MSA Cup. It was not the MSA Cup that's coming up, but it was a different one, where I did a really weird strategy of just using hard tires at Road Atlanta. No one else did that, and it's basically it's very different to how it is in daily races, where the multipliers are very like catered to using softer compounds. In races like this, where pit lane times are very detrimental. You want to stay out on the track as much as possible. Using harder tires and staying on the track and doing less time in the pits is the main focus of the strategy, and that's what I center around completely. I don't really focus on being faster in one part of the actual race. I focus on being fastest in the whole race, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. And to everyone else here, other than Levitius, how are you going to improve your strategy so that you can take on Levitius and take the championship to him? Because he's in the lead at the moment and doing very well. What have you been trying to do to try and improve your lap times and your race pace? What would be the things that you would like to improve on there? I'll go to Var Spartacus.
Yeah, I think from a VSR perspective, as we know Levy tends to go on the harder compound, and we also know that we can't compete on raw pace. so we sort of always try and do something different if it's feasible. A couple of times, I think it wasn't the best call, but I think if you go back to something like Tokyo, where Wolfie and I started, I think 13th and 14th, and worked our way up. Well, before I crashed, he came third or something, and it was only I think 10 or 12 seconds behind. He actually gained a lot of time in terms of strategy. So I think our strategy game has been good. It's just too slow, to put it bluntly.
Oh, that's the thing. No, that's good. I mean, it's a very competitive championship, and the thing is, all it takes is little things to get you up there on the podium, isn't it? And also a bit of luck as well, because if you have an incident that can ruin your race completely, and you've got to go from the back. But that's the great thing. We're seeing not that much of a gap between really all the cars through the field. Overall, there's not that much spread. In fact, on Monday there, it was pretty close. So it's just probably a few tenths a lap consistently to make up quite a big difference. Now, who would like to ask their competitors here a question? Because I'll put them out to the comments as well. To people who are watching, you can put your questions in the comments, and then we'll ask the driver exactly what you would like to say. Who has got a question for one of the other guests? Who will we start with? How about you, Levitius? Would you like to ask a question to one of the other competitors?
To be honest with you, it's inappropriate. I cannot mention it on stream. I got a message from the group chat. I cannot. But I'll think of something in due course while someone else thinks of a question.
That's the thing. To Neil, now you had your best finish there in the last race. Now, how do you feel going into where the championship is now? Do you think you can continue with that pace and go up the field?
No, look, the thing is you've also got to be realistic with your expectations, which I am. My goal essentially was to stay in Tier 1 for this championship, and I've managed, so 1 tick. And now, literally, it's just I want to finish in the top 10. So that's my goal, because I'm not going to catch the front runners. It's not on the cards for me. So but do the best I can. Look, the last race was awesome. I enjoyed it. Everything just came together. It's frustrating. I had good racing with Whipperman, but we had some fun on track there. It was like a clean battles. As long look, at the end of the day, you do this because you enjoy it and it's fun as well. And if you have a good race, it's always a good feeling, no matter the position. So for me, that was a great result. It is my best in the season. So onwards and upwards, hopefully.
And I'll go to Levitius. you've had some great overtakes and great battles. You've been overtaken as well, especially at the start of the races. We've seen some great battles. What have been the ones that you've enjoyed the most so far?
To be honest with you, the one that I enjoyed the most was probably Suzuka with JJ, because it was quite on the limit. When he went around the outside into turn one, like I was giving him just a car width, and he took the advantage of it, and it was very close. It was very close, and that's amazing to see that we can get really side by side and not hit each other. And also when I overtook him, when I set him up going from all the way back from Spoon Cove, basically just timing my slipstream, so I catch him just before the Casio Triangle, then I make sure he goes on a narrow line, then get past him on the straight, and then cut him off so he doesn't get undercut into turn one. It was a nice battle, yeah, really great battle.
And JDG, yeah, you did that great move around the outside. You did a kind of Eddie Irvine move on Ayrton Senna. I remember he did that way back in, it was probably about 1992 or 93, I think, wasn't it? It was quite a while ago. Had you been planning that? Was that your goal? How much practice did you do to get that move ready for the race?
So the thing is, I think moves like that don't often happen because, of course, it's a risky move. I think if I was like an inch further, I would have went off the track because I would have been on the green stuff. So it was. I don't want to say, but I'd probably say it was a bit of luck that I stayed on the track. Yeah, it was. The thing is, I don't think it was necessarily planned. It was like muscle memory, just trying. Because the thing is, I knew I didn't have the pace to win. So I thought maybe if I could get in front and maybe push a bit and see if I can eke out a gap, it could maybe save me like a podium or anything. But Levitis was a bit quick. He did the same type of move on me that I did on him with adjusting the opponent's line, causing a slower exit, or maybe just a strategic overtake, influencing the driver's lines, making sure that you always have the benefit when exiting the corner, which was quite cool. It was an extremely fun battle. I enjoyed it. And it's nice to see that we can battle like that, especially with the talent that we have this year one. It's quite fun having those battles because you don't see them really often when doing other leagues.
Oh, fantastic! So I'll ask the question: who do you think, out of all our guests here on the show tonight, who do you think's done the best overtake? Is there? I don't know if there's a trophy for the best overtake for the season or for the championship, but is there? What's been the most enjoyable overtake? Now I've seen you smile, Richard, so that because you've had some good battles with your podium finishes there. What's been your favourite overtake so far?
I don't think there's any one incident that stands out. I'm just thinking back on all the Robbing's racing incidents that we had in the beginning of the season. But no particular overtake comes to mind now, which I can think that's the one. Nothing at this stage.
Yeah, I think Gilarabrin's one on Diki at Suzuka was quite good. It was quite a late launch, but he managed to make the apex, so that was quite a good one.
And we've got in the comments from Llewellyn. He's saying best overtake so far this season was TNR Captain Slow with his battles in the races so far. That
I think it was Interlagos. I think he's mentioning Interlagos with kennels. I think it was that overtake.
Yeah. I mean, I think what's been amazing to watch is that, especially in the first 6 races, when you had the tiers that could be moved and people could drop down or move up, it really gives people a real reason to do their, to give it everything. And now it's kind of settled because people are now stuck in those tiers. But it's given us the chance to see how competitive drivers are, and then right the way through the championship, it's really closing up. So, what advice would you give to drivers who are following the championship and who are maybe wanting to join for the next one? What kind of advice would you give them as to how they can compete and be competitive? I'll go to Levitius first of all.
To be honest with you, the way I entered the GT7 scene was just driving quite often and quite just vigorously trying to understand how to improve my just overall like technique. I always used to watch replays all the time at the beginning. I just remember, especially the beginning of Gran Turismo 7, I was still very new to everything, but my learning curve from that March period in 2022 to around about June, I think I gained at least like in like GT3 cars about a second and a half, just because of my braking technique, especially. It's about being consistent. If you can just learn to be like driving at like 95% in a race, because you can't ever drive at 100%. Because you'll just tire yourself out and you will make a mistake and crash. It's about driving as close to 100% as possible, but not risking the mistake. If you can be consistent, right, you're going to outperform most of your opponents already, and then just take it from there. Yeah.
That's what Alain Prost used to do, wasn't it? He would be not necessarily drive the fastest race, but it was the fastest to finish, wasn't it? And
Exactly.
Jackie Stewart before him. But yeah, that's a good bit of advice, certainly, isn't it, to help? Because I think there'll be a lot. Sim racing is great the way that you can watch it on YouTube, and then you can get involved and you can get started. That's how I changed from going on a controller to going onto a wheel, because I watched Super GT through his streams, and he had all this lovely equipment in this nice room with all these trophies behind, and I thought, yes, the reason why I'm doing so badly is because I don't have a wheel. And I got my wheel and I was about half a second quicker, so that was all it was. But and I needed a lot more than that.
And actually, when I started, I used to sit and watch streamers like Levitius and Iris and those guys on YouTube, just to basically get a lot of tips of braking and turn in and stuff like that. So it did help quite a lot starting out. So yeah, it is. Yeah, that's right.
Now,
Yeah,
sorry, carry on.
Sorry, you just I have one piece of advice. My advice would be just to join the community, right? Like Puma has a lot of lobbies open throughout the week, and normally they are very open to anyone joining. We used to all be almost in the same team back in the day, and we had a lot of fun with short 5-lap races and long races, and just racing the whole time and getting used to people next to you and getting advice from them. And BSR, we're also open to people joining our lobbies. We normally, especially when it's a rainy track, we need more people to simulate the real race. So join the communities. That would be my advice.
Yeah, that's it, and enjoy it. I think that's the thing, isn't it? And your equipment can really help with that. If you've got good equipment or equipment that you're happy with, it makes such a big difference that you know it can work well. Now, before Levitius joined us, we'd asked the question, would any of you like to kind of compete in real races as well as all the sim racing that you do? And I can see Levitius nodding his head there. Well, Levitius, if you had the chance to do some real racing, would you be up for that? And what would you like?
Well, I have been involved in some just track days that I was invited to. I won the Mercedes-Benz ATK series from 2022, and they gave me a track day at Zwartkorps in a Mercedes C63, and it was amazing. It was a whole day there on the skid pan on the track. It was probably one of the most unforgettable days I've ever experienced. With the power in that car comes nothing close to my Hyundai, so it was eye-opening. And I would be open to doing something like that. I don't know, like full-on racing, because it's just so expensive. You know, you need to get really lucky, like someone like Jimmy Broadbent or Steve Brown, who gets the opportunity through sponsors and everything to even have a chance, you know. So if I just get a track day, that's more than enough that I could ask for, you know. Yeah, it was an amazing experience.
Yeah, it's great fun, isn't it? It's quite funny because now that, you know, we've all got experience of sim racing to different levels. If ever you go to like a works day out, and now more often than not, they actually will bring a simulator, or it could be like a corporate driving day or some kind of thing. And they normally bring simulators along, and you can have a go and set a time, and it's usually a prize. And I actually won a PS4 a number of years ago by doing it, and it was quite fun because you're driving real cars in one moment, and then you're running back to the marquee to have a go on the simulator to see if you can do a good time and hopefully win a prize. But when I did it, and this was in 2020, I won a prize for him. It was at the Mercedes World down near Guildford, down south near London. And they gave me a C43. It was the 4-wheel drive saloon version. And I was amazed because I drove it. I think they had it on Gran Turismo because I'm sure I'd driven the car before. But when I got to the day it was on a sort of handling track, I actually found that the car was easier to drive than it was on the game. I think it kind of handled well. It was more forgiving. Has anyone found that? Do you think Gran Turismo have the cars well developed, or do you think they're too understeery? Who would like to answer that?
Well, I'm pretty under good understanding of what they're doing in Gran Turismo. It's because it's a controller game as well. They have to make it work on controllers. So naturally, the cars will be a bit more understeery overall. That's how it was. It's always been like that. Except for the beginning of Gran Turismo 7, where they try to do something different and make the cars a lot more snappy on the rear. But overall, they do handle like they would in terms of the characteristics, but the Gran Turismo has always been a bit more understeery. It just has been, and it's just basically just trying to make it more accessible to everyone. I think they've done a really good job balancing it out though, because you can go to games like maybe Le Mans Ultimate nowadays where you cannot use a controller, and people really want to drive on that game on a controller as well, because sometimes people don't have another wheel, they just have a controller and it doesn't work. So I think it's just basically compromising between two controllers and making the most of it. Yeah. And it does translate pretty well though. Like if you've got a Porsche, you're gonna tend to get the Porsches very oversteering nature in corners, and then, for example, more of a heavy front end car, you're gonna get the characteristics you expect from it. It's just a bit more understeery than normal, you'd think. Yeah.
The fundamentals are all there essentially. All the fundamentals are there in GT. It just has to be accessible to how many millions have bought into Gran Turismo. So it is what it is, and I mean, I think everyone here has tried something else, ACC and iRacing or whatever. All of them have their faults. I mean, iRacing is one of the biggest sins. However, it has one of the weakest tyre models according to the experts. So it's still classified as sim. So just, yeah, it's good. It's good. It does what it needs to do, and it is, I think, definitely translatable into the real thing. Well, I've found it to be, so yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yes, I've played a little bit of LMU, and I do like it. I like the graphics and I like the way it feels, and I love the hypercars. I think they feel great. But actually, GT3 is pretty good on LMU. That I think we all agree in terms of on Gran Turismo, it would be lovely to see more racing cars, more like Group 3 and Group 4. Is there any? Because I mean, there's been quite a lot of new cars that have come out over the last few years, and we just don't have them yet in GT7. Is there a particular car that stands out that you would like to see come into GT7? Ferrari. I bet they'll pay a bit
296. 296.
New Ferraris, yeah.
2013 Ferrari 458 is unacceptable nowadays, to be honest. Yeah.
That's the thing. Now, I'll be looking in the comments here, and it says here that somebody actually does have a racing car, or maybe it was a BMW 135. Here we are. Now, it's a BMW with straight pipes and no cats. A 135 twin turbo, and that's what Captain Slow said. They're a nice car. That is a lovely car, actually. And Llewellyn has said he's got his passport. Send the plane. I'll come test for you and give you a report, and then I can fly him back to South Africa, and then he'll be fine with that. So there we go. And also Sir Mags has been very kind by saying that I look a little bit like Jackie Stewart. And also David Coulthard. I actually share the same birthday as David Coulthard.
I think he needs glasses.
I was going to say you need to go to Specsavers probably, but there we are. But I'll take that compliment. I will definitely take that compliment. So yes. So going on back to the championship, where do you see it heading? What do you think are going to be your strongest and most competitive combinations as we get towards the latter part of the championship? What are you most looking forward to? I'll go with JDJ.
Can you repeat the question for me, please?
How do you see the championship going for you, and what are you looking forward to most for the upcoming combinations?
Well, I'm hoping for more podiums. Would be nice. Yeah, that's my only goal for now, is to just try to be consistently on the podium. I do make a few mistakes, costing me a podium shot, or I wouldn't say the victory live is a bit quick now. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I don't know, these next couple of tracks don't suit me that well. Tracks I don't often drive, often make mistakes on, but of course working on it, trying to improve. I'm still yet to practice for this spa race, but I'm quite a quick learner, so we'll try. But yeah, just trying to perform at my best, not make mistakes, improve, and just learn this GR2 car a bit better, and then I'll be happy with whatever.
That's fantastic. And to you, Mac, how have you been? How do you see the championship going? Because I know you're obviously involved in the administrative side as well. But do you think it's going to close up, or do you think there's going to be a few surprises coming over the next few weeks?
I think that VSR as a team, based on the car that they have, I think the championship is going to get closer and closer. I think the Honda is showing that it's the 16 is showing that it's a really strong car. So I think it's going to get tighter and tighter as we get towards the end of the season.
Fantastic. And to you, Levitius, how do you see the championship going in the closing combinations coming up?
To be honest with you, I'm very confident going into the other rounds, but the only round that I know already that if I even get close to the podium for Daytona, it's a win because of the lack of top speed. I know it's like we have top speed for every other track. It's just the gearing is very short. So Daytona is definitely going to be a Honda domination. I know already. It's insanely maybe about 7/10 to a second difference in quali lap. So if I can get anywhere just near the podium or even a top 5, that's going to be humbling because honestly, I already knew from the beginning of the season when I saw that round, that's the outlier round. And I have to try and think about the car for the other tracks, not just the one track. So yeah, but the others are pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. So will that be a race that you think you might drop? Because you're allowed to drop around, aren't you? If
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the last race in the league?
No, that's round 10.
10.
Round 11 or 10.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And to you, Vars Martivis, I see you smiling there. What are your thoughts on the closing season and the races to come?
Yeah, no, I'm laughing at Richard because I know his thought process there. He's gonna miss the last race, so he wants Daytona to be the throwaway race because he's in the GTR.
I think we must move the Daytona to the last race. Thank you first.
Yeah, look, I look forward to the season. To be honest, I think I've only not crashed in 2 races this season. So if I can just keep it on track and keep it consistent, I think the team competition is my focus now. I think podium is a little bit far out unless I get top 2 every single race from here on out. So I'm just going to try and keep it in top 5. If I can get top 5 along with the rest of my teammates, I'm happy with that. Looking forward to Spa as well. It seems like it's going to be dry, wet, dry, wet, dry, wet. So we'll see how that goes, but that makes for good racing.
Yeah. Sean and I will have to make sure we're absolutely on the money so that we don't miss any of the overtakes, because when it was wet the last time, it was brilliant. It was great to see, but it was so hard to keep up with everything. So we're strategizing to make sure we can cover all the overtakes and everyone involved, so that we don't miss anything. And to race at tracks like Spa in the Group 2, which it's got a lot of downforce, but it's still quite dodgy, especially in the wet. How have you found actually the cars handling in the wet? Are they quite tricky, or have you been able to master them all quite easily?
I think the GTR, the Nissan, is a bit sketchy because of the short gearing ratios of the high torque it's putting out in each gear. I did one practice session yesterday, only the first one I did for Spa, and yeah, it was quite a handful to keep the car on the track in the wet conditions because of the short gearing.
And how about you, Levitius? How do you find when driving in the wet?
To be honest with you, I have not driven Group 2, this specific Group 2 ever in the wet. Oh, no, not ever in the wet. I did do a GTSA race last year in the wet. It was at the Nürburgring. That was the last time I drove any Group 2 2016 car in the wet. Honestly, I'm only going to touch the combo on Sunday after my GGWS race on Saturday because it's been quite intense to schedule. Yeah.
I was going to say, do a lot of you do the Manufacturers Cup as well? Because they're pretty challenging, and that would probably help give you that extra practice you need for these kind of championships, isn't it? That extra experience of racing. Do most of you do the Manufacturers Cup?
I don't think so.
I haven't done a single online race since the start of GT7, except for in our league locally.
Yeah. That's the thing. But no, it's great. Now I'll put the question back to you because I know for a little while ago I asked you, would you like to ask one of your competitors a particular question? So if you've had time to think of something, you can come up now. But do I see nodding heads or do I see shaking heads? How about you, Levitius?
Well, let's just think something on top of my head here. Have you guys actually tested your opponent's cars and seen if there's like anything you could learn to maybe like outwit your opponent? Because I've definitely tried all the other cars just to see what they actually are like. Yeah.
So I've tried them, and that's why I look like I've eaten a frog, because the Lexus is so slow. It's just, yeah, it's horrible. So I've got a question.
Yes.
I would like to know how many of you guys change your wheel settings according to the track and car you're racing with. For example, steering sensitivity, stuff like that. Do you mess around with it a lot?
Never. I never change it ever.
Yeah, same.
On my side, I do some adjustments.
Yeah, I know that some guys do. Some of the top racers change their steering sensitivity for almost every track, from what I understand. And every time I do it, I crash in the first corner.
Yeah, for me, it's a muscle memory thing. I don't have enough time on the game to start messing around. That's also why I like GT7 compared to like ACC or something. I don't have the time to go and set up a car and check my tire pressure and everything. I just need to get on track and start racing, and that's what GT7 offers. So, I can't. I think I've done it once with something like a go-kart. I think I had a go-kart race where I once did it, but other than that, no.
Okay, so having had this conversation, I'm never going to touch mine again.
I know that it was V28 from America. He did a video quite recently about that, about the steering wheel ratios and making sure that your ratio was correct, because it made a huge difference. And I noticed on my wheel, the G923, I often think I'm turning far too much. In a racing car, there's a much shorter lock, but it seems like you have to put in a much more lock just to get around some of the corners. And I seem to be quicker and more competitive with the go-kart because, of course, it's a tiny lock on the go-kart, and that's the thing. And it's kind of crazy on GT7 with the go-kart combination because it's so tiny, the inputs you have to make that work. But that's interesting to know that you don't really change anything like that. But perhaps maybe as the game evolves, that will be something that will be easier to do, and maybe perhaps will happen. But But no, that's great. How about you, Glara Brown? You've been. We haven't asked you a question for a little while. What are your thoughts on the closing season coming into the last few races of the championship?
Yeah. Sorry. I'm gonna add to what Fizz said. Yeah, we're hoping that Honda will give us a bit more of an advantage with its better tire wear, and then hopefully with some good strat, we can close in on the top. But I don't think we're not going to catch Levitius. But yeah, hopefully for the team championship, we can narrow it down a bit.
Fantastic. Oh, that's great. Now, I'll put it out to the viewers who are watching. If you've got a question, we'll need to ask it in the next minute or two as I bring the show to a close, but we'll make sure that we don't miss anything. But it would be great to have questions from the viewers to their supporting drivers. I was going to say to our guests here, how have you found the support in the community? Because that's a big thing about the SMA 500 Championship, isn't it? And the community that's been developed. You get a lot of supporters saying, JDG for the victory, or Levitius for the victory, or Varsvartavis. How have you found getting a good following? Is it kind of giving you a bit of inspiration?
Well, I've got quite a few people who come into my stream who are watching both races at the same time that are able to do so. I don't actually, I kind of lock in and don't look at the chat that much during the actual race. I do see in the pit stops, I do say hello to anyone like in the little pauses, but yeah, I do notice it. TNR being crazy, especially, they're always in there supporting me, which means a lot to me because just having a team behind me is really great, and can't really be more thankful.
Fantastic. That's really good. Now, we've got a great question from Sir Mags. He says, they say, how were the names chosen? How did you choose your names? I'll start with you, Neil. How did you choose? Have you got any extras that you put on your... It's Puma Racing. I suppose that's for the Puma Racing team, isn't it? Yeah, I should have read that. I was caught out with that one.
Pretty straightforward on that one. Yeah.
Wibberman, I will ask you that question.
It's a corner on the Nürburgring track. That's basically where the name comes from.
That's the one. And JDJ?
It's the acronym of my name.
All right. So that's the thing. And I'll put Levitius then. Is that your... How did he come to that?
Okay, this is interesting. It's a bit of a long story. Not too long, but I'll try and condense it. So I used to make a lot of videos on Call of Duty, and my name was an Italian name, but it didn't work with the algorithm. It was Ultimo, but Ultimo means last in Italian, so it wasn't really working. So I had to find something better, and I remember seeing the word Leviticus in the Bible. I know it sounds really weird, but I saw it in the Bible. I was like, this doesn't let's work with this. And then I took away the C, and then I messed around with the IUS, and it came to Leviticus, and then that's just how it just stuck with me for like almost 7 years now. So yeah,
that's fantastic. That's great. And now, Varsvartavis, we are supposed to call you Fish, aren't we? I'm sure when we interview you. Where did that all come from?
Yeah, it actually comes from like age of 9. I know you guys play rugby as well, so we had a rugby move, and it was called Fizz, which is fish, and I got the ball, and from there I got the nickname Fish, and it actually stuck throughout. And one day I was sitting and I was creating a new PSN name for myself, and I thought Fish is a bit boring. What can I add to it? And I got to freshwater fish. It's a bit like that email that you create when you are 12 years old, and then you get to 29 and you're like, oh, how did I come up with this? But I'm happy with it.
That's the thing. Well, I have to say the rugby, that's a whole different subject. And here, being Scottish, I'm the most nervous when it's the rugby championships and the world championships, because we always tend to get beaten, and pretty savagely, by South Africa. But hopefully we might start to improve a bit on that in that sport in a wee while. In Scotland we tend to start all the sports and then do really terribly at them. So we the same with football and others. We pretty much help to create it, and then we do terribly after that.
You know what your problem is, Hugh? You wear skirts. That's what your problem is.
The kilt was supposed to be scary all those years ago. But
Well, depends from which angle you look at it. Can be scary,
You beat me to it.
No, that's the thing. Well, look, I would love to thank you very much for coming on the show tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show and to chat about the GT500 Championship and the SMA. And it's really showing the best talent from South Africa, which is great to see. I wish you all the best for the rest of the season. And you're all welcome to come on the show individually as well. If you want to do an interview, you're more than welcome. We'd love to have you back on. But it's great to see your advice for following drivers and people who are following the channel and following the championship, and seeing you all develop your racing skills, and really just being able to commentate on this series is fantastic. And yeah, it's going to get closer and closer. We're looking forward to some great races coming up. But on that note, if you stay in the channel for a few seconds, and I will end the stream. But thank you very much to everybody who has been watching tonight and commenting. It's great to see you. If you want to see more interviews, we've got people like Steve Alvarez Brown, we've got Rory, we've got The Key, we've got Tidgey. They're all in the catalogue on the channel. And if you want to make sure you don't miss any content, then you can always add in a like and a subscribe. That would be fantastic. But for the SMA Championship, I should have a link in the description to make sure that if you're not already subscribed to that, you can watch all the action live on a Monday night from, I think it's 9:40. Is it 8:45? It's 8:45 live. We are on a Monday night. But it's a fantastic championship to watch. Great racing. And here we have many of the stars of that championship with us tonight. So thank you very much for watching. And as the motto goes, drive fast and try not to crash. Just now.
Thank you.
Thanks you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.